Joining me to discuss rising consumer prices in Brazil and issues facing the Brazilian economy is Enestor Dos Santos, economist at BBVA Research. Hello, Enestor. Enestor, what are the dangers of rising consumer prices for the Brazilian economy?
Well, from a cyclical perspective, the main problem is that rising prices will at some point force policymakers to adopt restrictive measures in an environment where GDP is running below the potential. In other words, rising inflation could prevent domestic activity from fully recovering. But from a more structural point of view, rising inflation will create an extra burden for Brazilian companies as wage and input prices increase. This could end up reducing their competitiveness and the competitiveness of the country as a whole.
Brazil's swap rates dropped to a record on bets the central bank will signal at a two-day meeting starting today its intent to keep borrowing costs low. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, we also expect the Selic rate, that is the reference interest rate, to stay constant at 7.25%, not only today and for the remainder of the year, but also during the next year. Okay, we think that low interest rates are here to stay in Brazil.
Inflation is very much a key concern in Brazil. What are your thoughts about inflation levels in Brazil?
Yeah, even the economy has been practically stagnated during 1 year, basically from the middle of 2011 to the middle of 2012. But even though the economy has been stagnated, inflation has remained well above the target, the official target that is 4.5%. Right now, it's close to 5.5%. It's true that inflation was hit by a non-demand shock, as is the case of a rise in food prices that are related at a large extent to the drop in the U.S. But it's also true that this year inflation benefited from some other one-off factors, such as the update of the inflation methodology and tax cuts on vehicles and other durable goods. According to my calculations, these factors, that are positive from an inflation perspective, they match the impact of higher food prices, which means that current inflation figures, again, current inflation is around 5.5%, are not misleading. What is misleading is to say some officials are saying at this moment that if inflation would converge to the 4.5 target, if food prices had not increased. And then we could ask ourselves, why is inflation high if the economy is below the potential? And here there are three explanations. First, there are some structural problems that are very well known in Brazil, such as the price indexation. Second, because labor markets remain very tight in spite of the recent slowdown. And third, because this central bank and this government, they are somewhat more tolerant with respect to inflation.
Brazil economic expansion forecasts are repeatedly being cut. What does this mean for Brazil's economy? This
actually suggests that Brazil's current growth model, that is based on the expansion of credit and on the expansion of consumption, is not working as it worked in the past. Okay, you could say that the current model is exhausted. The government has realized that, and actually they are now trying to focus also on supply side measures, as could be the reduction of the tax burden, infrastructure concessions to the private sector, reduction in the electricity tariffs, and not only keep focused on demand policies. This is good news, and I think this is actually the only way to restore growth in a sustainable way.
In your view, what are the main issues facing Brazil's economy now?
We could say the excessive expansion of credit, especially in public banks, and also inflation. But I think that these are some of the main issues facing Brazil's economy right now. But I think that the most important one is competitiveness. You know, in the last year, the country Brazil has lost competitiveness because wages and prices increased, and because the currency appreciated. Right, while during the same period, the tax burden remained very high, and infrastructure problems were not addressed. Okay, since 2008. Okay, since the crisis in 2008, if you compare current demand to the demand levels before the crisis, current levels are higher. You could say that domestic demand is stronger now than it was before the crisis. However, if you look at industrial production, for example, it has never reached pre Lehman Brothers crisis levels. Okay, we also see that domestic manufacturing is losing market share in global markets, but also in Brazilian markets. Okay, basically, you could say in few words that there is a demand-supply gap, and that the country has a big competitiveness problem. And I think that weakening the currency and cutting interest rates will not solve the problem, because a permanent reduction of the tax burden and then a clear improvement of infrastructures, the adoption of other reforms, this is the way to drive productivity up and to improve competitiveness in Brazil.
Thanks for joining me, Enestor. You can also check out my colleague Dylan McDermott's interview, which focuses on Argentina. In the meantime, stay tuned to Dukascopy TV for exclusive interviews and updates. For now, though, goodbye.